Filipina Alycia falls short against Alycia Parks in Australian Open debut. Melbourne, Australia. Alycia of the Philippines was unable to ride a wave of raucous crowd support to victory in her Australian Open main draw debut, falling short in a seesawing battle against American Alycia Parks. The 20-year-old fan favorite had just about the entirety of the capacity grandstands cradling court 6 cheering her every move, but ultimately didn't have the answers to stop the power and aggression of her more experienced opponent, who prevailed 0-6, 6-3, 6-2 in 1 hour and 56 minutes. I think it's only normal that with a loss comes disappointment and being upset. But then again, it's another opportunity for me to take and learn and grow as a player, said Eala. The fact that everyone came out and really squeezed into that cozy court, I really appreciate it. I felt so loved. It was so heartwarming. That's one of the things that makes a loss like today a little bit harder, is I know a lot of people were rooting for me. But then again, Alycia played really well. Eala, who had bowed out in the qualifying phase at the last 3 Australian Opens, entered this year's tournament at Melbourne Park as one of the most discussed and hyped players on the women's tour, courtesy of her breakout 2025 campaign. Last year, she made a memorable semifinal run at the Miami Open, which featured wins over Grand Slam champions Jelena Ostapenko and Madison Keys, won a challenger event in Guadalajara, and climbed inside the world's top 50. She began this season in rich form, reaching the semifinals at the ASB Classic in Auckland before taking out the Kooyong Classic. The rougher Nadal Academy talent began her first-round match brightly, breaking Parks in a marathon opening game that lasted 12 minutes and featured 8 breakpoint chances. She required just 22 minutes to reel off the next 5 consecutive games to pocket the opening set. But Parks raised her intensity at the top of the second frame, and the shots she had been missing early began landing in play. The 25-year-old from Atlanta won 12 of the next 17 games to upset the crowd favorite and book her place in the second round of the tournament. Parks will now face Czech Karolina Muchova, who accounted for Romania's Jacqueline Christian in straight sets on Monday afternoon. Fire and frost, Alycia's electrifying showdown with Alycia Parks, Australian Open 2026 begins. There are some moments in sport that feel like more than just a match. Moments that pulse with promise, pressure, history, and sheer emotion. On January 19, 2026, at Melbourne Park, one such moment unfolded, not under the bright lights of Rod Laver Arena, but amid the electric intimacy of Court 6, where Alexandra Eala stepped onto the hard courts of the Australian Open for her first-round main draw debut, facing the powerful American Alycia Parks. What followed was a clash that was equal parts drama, spectacle, heartbreak, inspiration, and importantly, a testament to the rise of a young star whose journey is only just beginning. 1. The global stage beckons. In the sun-drenched precincts of Melbourne Park, the 2026 Australian Open roared to life with all the Grand Slam fanfare the tennis world loves, from the thrum of the crowd to the distant echo of serves ricocheting across multiple courts. For many of the sport's established names, it was business as usual. But for Eala, the tournament carried added meaning. Here was a moment years in the making, the culmination of growth, sacrifice, and expectation, not just from within herself but from an entire nation watching with bated breath. At just 20 years old, Eala was already rewriting pages of Philippine sporting history. She had broken into the WTA Top 50, claimed a WTA title in Guadalajara, reached big stages like the Miami Open semifinals, and became the first Filipino to win a Grand Slam match at the US Open. Now, on the first Monday of the season's biggest event, she stood poised to take another major stride forward. Across the net stood Alycia Parks, a seasoned American competitor known for her earth-shaking serve, having tied the record for the fastest woman's serve in history years earlier. Parks was the kind of opponent whose weapons could overwhelm even the brightest rising star unless precision, poise, and tactical clarity aligned perfectly. 2. A cue like no other. Court 6 turns into Eala's arena. The tennis world is used to long lines and buzzing courtside chatter at a Grand Slam, but what happened outside Court 6 was on another level. Hundreds of fans wound around the walkways, eager for a glimpse of Eala, waving Philippine flags, chanting Alex, 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 and flooding every available seat in the intimate stadium. Some even watched from outside on giant screens, simply to feel connected to the moment. It wasn't just support, it was devotion. A young athlete whose success had ignited passion from fans back home was about to play in a match that felt like more than a first round. It felt like destiny. Yet destinies are complex, and they are rarely written in straight lines. 3. The match, a saga of momentum lost, and grit. From the opening point, Eala looked like a player fully seized by the moment. The first game was a marathon, more than 10 minutes, multiple juices, and 8 breakpoint chances before Eala finally broke through. Once she had that opening, she seized control. Grace, precision, and aggressive shot-making saw her win 8 of the next 9 points, and in just 34 minutes, she bageled Park 6-0 in the first set, a statement of dominance that electrified the Court 6 crowd. For a moment, it felt as though the narrative of expectation was being fulfilled. But tennis, like life, is a game of momentum, and momentum can shift like desert winds. In the second set, Parks found her rhythm. Her lightning serve began to crackle with authority. Precision returns found Eala's corners, and she surged to a 3-0 lead. Eala, resilient as ever, counterpunched. She clawed back to level at 3-3, and for brief flashes, it felt like the script might stay with Eala's favor. However, Park's experience and physicality ultimately told. She closed the set 6-3, and a pivotal psychological turning point had arrived. The deciding third set was a battle of wills. Park sprinted ahead early, but Eala refused to wilt. She answered with courageous shot-making, trimmed deficits, and pushed Parks physically and mentally. For a moment, the match felt poised on a knife's edge, until Parks regained a shred of control, clinched key service games, and sealed the final set 6-2, completing an impressive comeback. The final score read 0-6, 6-3, 6-2, and in nearly 2 hours, a match of stock swings had given birth to a tale fans would talk about for years. 4. More than a match, the emotional echoes. When the final rally faded, and Parks raised her arms in triumph, the applause that rang out wasn't only for the victor but for the epic journey both players had taken on that court.